Good afternoon, Instagram. It's that time. Just the chat featuring the incomparable, the one, the only Leonard Steinberg. I can't believe he's going to be joining us in a minute. So I'm really excited about that. If you have any questions, make sure you put them in the chat feature down below. That way we can get those questions going for Leonard, who will be with us in T-minus like 30 seconds. So if you don't know who Leonard is one of the is known as the chief evangelist of Compass. So I'm seeing all my Compass Atlanta just joined. Hi, Compass Atlanta. Hello, everyone. Like I said, Leonard will be on in a minute. I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of nervous, but I'm actually really not too nervous because Leonard's awesome. So let's see if we can get him up on here now. Let's see, Leonard. All right. Hello, Andy. Andy, if you guys don't know, refuses to post any Instagram posts and is trying to get to 1,000 followers. So if you see Andy online or see him in Clubhouse, make sure you join and follow him because we're trying to get Andy to 1,000. Hey, Compass Atlanta. Hey, Leonard. There you are. Let's bring you on. It's kind of weird. It's not like allowing me to. There we go. Leonard, are you there? Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great, and you said you weren't going to be able to figure this out, and you did it just great.
Well, you figured it out for me because if you were relying on me alone, we'd all be in serious trouble. I'm going to put my other glasses on so I don't look too hideous.
Oh, no. Leonard, your glasses are like they're their own personality. I like to name them.
They're called my major and most effective distraction.
Leonard, thank you so much for being on here. If you guys don't know, Leonard is the chief evangelist of Compass. So we're going to just jump right into it. Leonard, what the hell does the chief evangelist of Compass mean?
Knowing our industry and knowing this profession, an evangelist is necessary to forgive everyone. So I'm here just to forgive everyone for the bad things they've done. No, I'm kidding. The chief evangelist is a title I took on. I started at Compass almost 7 years ago now when we were a 50-person company. And I was the company president at the time. But since we've grown, of course, tremendously. And because of that, we have regional presidents around the country now. And I never took on an administrative or managerial role in that capacity. I'd always been mostly focused on advisory and on the culture of the company. And so I changed my title. I didn't really want or need a title, but I thought maybe something so that it would resonate. And I think evangelist speaks to me, evangelizing on behalf of the profession, evangelizing on behalf of Compass, evangelizing on ethics and good, healthy relationships and collaboration and all those other good things. So I'm kind of like the feel-good guy. And more importantly, I'm in the markets. So I actually experience a lot of what you experience every day. And by doing so, I can respond instantly to what's happening in the markets, as opposed to most other leadership roles in companies that get a report at the end of 6 months. That's kind of useless. We get to see real-time reporting, and I can let the powers that be and the team that makes this organization run aware of things as they're happening, not 6 months after they've happened.
Yeah, you're definitely boots on the ground, which I think is unique to our company, where we have a lot of companies that have senior leadership and they haven't done real estate in years. So you're a practicing, ass-kicking, and that's the technical term, broker in New York City, and you are boots on the ground and you run a team. So tell us a little bit about your team, how many people you have on there, and what's your speciality of real estate?
Well, I think from a specialization perspective, we've always been more focused on downtown, although we've had crossover between downtown and uptown, especially where there are uptown people who want a downtown mentality or aesthetic. So for instance, we have a penthouse right now on the Upper East Side that could easily be in Tribeca. And that client was specifically attracted to us because of that. But it's a team of 13 people. There are 5 core members that run all the day-to-day operations around our buyers and our sellers and our tenants and our landlords and our new developments and all that other good stuff. And then the rest of the team members exist under our umbrella. So they have full support from the team. And then when I need to call on them for support, they can reach out to me. They have access to all my marketing tools, all the messaging systems we have. We do a monthly newsletter. We have a very active Instagram account, and Facebook and LinkedIn and all these other things. I don't even know what I'm talking about, by the way, but it sounds almost good.
You know what, you've got me sold. I think you are going to start a new company on social media advisements, because you are all over the place. But I want to bring it back a little bit to the beginning. So tell us a little bit about where you're from and how you came to bestow your fabulousness onto New York City.
I love how you speak, and I'm going to have to send you. I'm going to have to pay you for that public relations, because it sounds a lot. Started way back when at the southernmost tip of Africa in Cape Town, and I studied actually to be a fashion designer. And I came to New York on vacation because I'd never been before. And I stayed for a few weeks, and then I said, you know what, maybe I could try get a job in fashion land just for a week, and then they'll fire me because I'm such an idiot, but at least I'll get in to see what it's like behind the scenes. And I got a job at a company that was based out of Texas, and I said, well, I've seen the first 126 episodes of Dallas. Texas is amazing. Off I got on a plane, Braniff Airlines, landed in Dallas, and I thought I'd landed in, heaven. Dallas was so much fun back then. And back then I drank too much. So I had a lot of fun. And after 2 weeks, I said, you know what, maybe I could stay another few weeks and get my green card. And I was learning a lot because the company I worked for was in mega growth mode. I seemed to land in those scenarios. I don't know how. And we grew the company back then, which was doing about $6 million a year, to over $50 million a year within just a few years. So I experienced this rapid growth, and it was very exciting times. And we had offices in New York, and we went to Los Angeles and all these other places. So I was dividing my time between all three. And then the green card took a lot longer than I thought. So what was supposed to be a few weeks took 5 years.
Oh, wow.
And 3 years into that, an assistant who worked for me, she was actually an intern, one day took me out for dinner and said, hey, do you want to start a fashion company on the side? And I was like, well, that takes a lot of money. And she said, well, I have a lot of money. I was like, okay. So we started a fashion company on the side, and I would work until maybe 5:30, 6 o'clock in my one job. And then I'd go from 6 o'clock until midnight and do my company. And that lasted for a while. And then when I left the other company, I went full blast into building up this company. And we built up a nice, healthy company. But fashion, unfortunately, we existed in the middle of the market. Mm-hmm. And just like everything in life today, I think the middle class is under such assault. And in fashion today, everything is really affordable or really expensive. Those are the two areas that do really well. And we were neither. And while we had a very nice following, and we sold to over 400 stores throughout the country and internationally as well, and we were in Harrods and in Dubai and Paris and everywhere, we had a nice collection. We dressed all the ladies who went to lunch, and we dressed all the ladies who went to weddings and bar mitzvahs, and anyone who wanted to look beautiful and gorgeous. That's really what our look was. But up to about $650, $700, $800, not $3,000 or $4,000, and not $200. So kind of in the middle. Mm-hmm. And then the partnership dissolved, and I embarked on a midlife crisis at 30 and became a musician. Hopeless failure. A hopeless failure.
Wait. Before you go on, what were you playing? And please tell us the name of your band if there was one.
No. I played keyboards, and I did everything myself. And I have a saying about my careers was that I was almost big in Taiwan. They almost signed me on in Taiwan, but didn't. So that's the only claim I can have, is that they almost did, but they didn't, for very good, obvious reasons. And I learned very quickly that having a midlife crisis at 30 is a little premature. So I decided I would explore real estate. And while I was doing fashion, I'd actually built 2 townhouses and loved the process. And as a kid, my first deal almost happened at the age of, I think, 7 years old. I took a piece of paper and wrote for sale on it and slapped it on my parents' house. And our next door neighbor, Mrs. Babaletakis, came running over and said, how much? And she had her checkbook ready. I'm a person, well, why? Your house is for sale. So I almost had my first deal there, but like all deals, someone always gets in the way of things. Anyway, so that's how, and actually as a kid, I used to go to lots of open houses on my
Mm-hmm.
own, and they'd be like, where's your mommy? And I'd be like, what? Why? So at 11 o'clock, at 11 years old, I was already redesigning homes and trying to think how I could take a ordinary place and make it wonderful. So I've always loved real estate, and I actually wanted to become an architect at one point, but realized I was too stupid to do that. My math and science wasn't good enough.
You know what? I'm starting to recognize that there is like a trend amongst all these like fabulous people I speak to from across the country, because realtors that are just killing it are self-deprecating. They have an entrepreneurial spirit that just they're like, yeah, I was doing this and then I was trying to make money this way, and nobody was like starving for money, but they just had that drive to like, well, if I'm here, how am I not getting paid for it? There's got to be some way I could do it. And it's this combination of desire to succeed with artistic natures that just make like the best real estate agents, and we're all pretty funny. So
Well,
I'm noticing that.
I enjoyed the creative process, and because of fashion, owning my own company, you learn very soon that you have to be in sales if you own your own company. And from a very early age, my dad, explained to me, like, whatever you do in life, you're going to have to sell your ideas. You're going to have to sell people into what you want them to do and motivate them to want to do it with you or for you. So sales and creativity clash beautifully in real estate brokerage.
Yeah.
And that's when I got into real estate brokerage in Manhattan. I joined the Corcoran Group when Barbara Corcoran was still running the company. She actually sold the company in 2001, a week before 9/11. Can you believe?
Wow.
She closed, and she did very well. And then I left Corcoran because she also left the company a few months after. And I joined Douglas Elliman, which at the time was doing maybe like $7 or $8 billion in sales a year. And when I left Douglas Elliman, they'd come close to tripling that. So I also experienced this rapid mammoth growth at Douglas Elliman. But I really, in meeting Robert in December of 2013, I was introduced by a consultant who had grouped together a few agents to meet with Robert to help him understand what we saw the future of real estate being. And we met, we had a nice conversation. And then in January of 2014, he invited me for breakfast. And I was like, ugh, this Urban Compass company, I'm not interested. It's algorithm-driven rental brokers. I'm not interested in that at all. But there was a free breakfast involved. So, of course, I was there. And I love food.
He knew to speak to the soul of every realtor. What's free? Okay, I'll be there. Food and booze.
That'll do it. So we had a great breakfast, and I walked away from that breakfast and I said to myself, why is this company that's doing rentals and algorithms and, obviously has made some noise already, why do I feel that if I don't explore this further, I'm going to regret it in a few years' time? So I really relied on my gut instinct, which I'm sure you've done all your life. And that gut instinct led us to investigate further, look into things a lot more deeply. And whereas there was very little infrastructure at the time, they'd already built some infrastructure, I saw what most excited me was a group of people from outside of the industry trying to work with the industry as opposed to the industry. I think up until that moment, they were more keen on revising the whole model. But by the time I came on, they were very much embracing the concept of traditional brokerage with high tech. The fusion of high tech and high touch, which is something I've always believed in. And I think it is kind of the cornerstone of who we are. I think we as a company get beaten up quite a lot because everyone says like, are you a tech company or are you a real estate brokerage? Which one are you? And you know what? The bottom line is Amazon is not a bookstore or a tech company. They're doing both. Amazon is doing Whole Foods. Amazon is even opening up retail environments. But what they're doing is they're tweaking, reinventing, and evolving. So what I wanted to do, and at that point, believe me, I'm old now, but I was pretty old back then too. And I felt I'd had a lot of success in my career. And this was a moment not only to continue my career, but maybe to give back something to the community and the profession, and maybe elevate the profession, because that's what I really believe in. That what we're doing at Compass is not just a moment for elevating the company and what we do within the company, but by doing what we do, elevate the entire profession. And I have to say, and this is the only arrogant moment I'm going to have in this discussion, I really think we've had a tremendous impact on the profession. Because all of a sudden you see companies that made fun of us 5-7 years ago talking our language. I see a lot of graphics that look remarkably. There's a Christmas Carol. Have you heard the Christmas Carol? It's
No.
beginning to look a lot like
Oh, yes.
compass everywhere you go. I see a lot of graphics that look like Compass. I see a lot of things that Compass did many years ago filtering into the community. And you know what? That's not copying. That's elevating. That's inspiring others to be better. And we're always going to be in a competitive environment as long as we're raising the bar, because that's in the best interest of the consumer. And if the consumer finds us to be really good at what we do and really engage with what we do and find real value in what we do, then not only are we building a great future for Compass, but we're building a great future for our profession. And that's kind of my story.
You know what? I think that you touched on so many important points. And I think that elevating, maybe I say this and maybe it's a little bit harsh, but I say, unfortunately, to become a realtor, all you need is a Groupon and a few hours. And we are advising people and supporting people through the biggest financial purchase of their life, regardless of the price point. And you would think that there would be a little bit more barrier to entry to come into this field. Doctors need continuing education, lawyers need continuing education, and we have a very limited amount of continuing education. And I'm proud that I'm part of NARSAR, which is a New York State Association of Realtors, and I, in every education meeting, advocate for the fact that we need to raise the bar. And I think that was kind of what made me feel all the warm and fuzzies when I joined Compass, because it was an industry disrupting perspective, and it's not just to be the new it girl, but it's to make things better for everybody and make sure that everyone's keeping up, because that's what the minimum standard is to service people. I mean, it's not a t-shirt or a pizza people are purchasing. And like, sometimes I go on and I talk to clients or I talk to customers and they're like, nobody told me this, or I didn't know this about that. Like, you bought this property and you didn't know that there was this thing that attached to it, like a flip tax or whatever it is. And I'm like, oh my God, like, geez, it's like frustrating because, again, you're advising people on making purchases. So
I think what you're doing, which is very important, is you're touching on the most important aspect of it. You are highlighting how much talking goes into our profession, and it's not exclusively focused on the transaction. The transaction is a culmination of multiple conversations and thought processes that go into, should I buy, should I sell, should I move, should I upsize, should I downsize, what's happening, am I getting divorced, am I getting married, am I going to have kids, are my kids moving out, am I moving cities? So we act in an advisory role for many, many months and years, well beyond the transaction. And I think that is the big difference between us and all the outside competitors, or those agents who are just exclusively focused on, I'm going to make a deal and move on. I think that's the ugliness of real estate that we are fighting. And I think, especially with what you're doing with your team, even if you don't have 200 people in your team, you have a group of people who are learning from you every single day, learning from one another every day. And just like doctors and lawyers have apprenticeships, for your newest members of your teams, there's an element of apprenticeship in that. And then for those who are, 2 or 3 years experience, it's a continuing education. For those who are very experienced, they're passing that on as well. So you are automatically, by de facto, being in a team, really doing that service to the profession. And for that, I applaud you.
Oh, well, thank you. Listen, I think that when it comes to real estate, I know that I know a lot about one part of real estate. But even being licensed since 2001 does not mean that there's like a whole big portion of real estate that I know nothing about. So it's, I have to look for opportunities. And that's one of the things that I appreciate most about Compass. And I know this is becoming like a Compass sales pitch, and I don't mean for it to. But if you have a question, you can literally go into any Compass style safe space, whether it be like workplace, a Compass clubhouse. You can ask anything and people are going to be like, this is what you need to do, girl, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to help you. And it's so amazing, like the level of support you get, where you don't feel like, oh, I can't ask this because they're my competitors. It's peers.
That has been the biggest element that we wanted to introduce into the company, that there always have been a group of agents who have been that way and have acted that way. But because of the environment that they were in, where that was not encouraged, and controlled, because it really matters who you bring into the fold, that they are, you know, believers in that style of business, as opposed to that vulture style of business where everyone's just trying to kill each other and compete and kill and win. I find that we all win when the consumer wins. And when the consumer is really well advised because of our collective collaborative nature, then we all stand to benefit. But it requires everyone participating. And I hate to bring up something that may be viewed as political, but I think if everyone gets vaccinated, that's to everyone's benefit. So if we all play nice in the sandbox and really help one another, that's one thing. I also think within the Compass family, there is a certain level of expertise that gives you the comfort that when you reach out for guidance or advice or a resource or anything like that, that there is a certain level of quality that has been automatically pre-screened. So you don't feel like you're going to get something ridiculous or advantageous or in some way BS-y. And I think that has tremendous value because that saves time. And you know what I always say, time is the last luxury. Yeah. That is our one real luxury that matters more than anything.
So I'm going to throw this out there because the way that you and I happened to speak was in a clubhouse room that Rob from San Francisco runs on Thursdays. So if you're on Clubhouse, make sure you follow Leonard. And if you're on Clubhouse, make sure you also follow Rob. Rob SF, I think is his name, from San Francisco. And I just put it out there because, you know, I think a lot of people think Compass is just like ultra high luxury, you know, and I do not sell ultra high luxury. I can, but I don't. So you know what, you reached out and you said something that was so simple and profound, and I literally wrote it out and I put it on my desk. And you said to me, you emailed me after this Clubhouse, after you gave me really great feedback, and you're like, Jess, owning a home is luxury, not how much you have in the bank account and not how much the selling price is. And the luxury at Compass is the level of service, not the price point. And it just hit home and made so many things like align for me, because I'm going to be honest, like sometimes you're like looking at, what, if you don't know, Leonard sends out a morning email every morning for how many years?
Almost 7 years, every day, 365 days of the year.
Yeah, to the whole company.
Even when I have a tube stuck in my nose down into my stomach to drain it, I was in that hospital bed, drugged up, sending some really weird stuff to everyone.
But you got it out there.
Got it out there.
And you know what? And every morning it's a little positive affirmation, a little real estate tidbit, and then it's a feature of certain listings. And people, really, that's a coveted spot if you're on the Leonard Steinberg email, like, oh my God. And you had said to me, send me some of your stuff. And I'm like, I literally said there, I'm like, I went to my list and I'm like, okay, like these are people's homes. These are people's homes that I care about, but I just never thought that would be the right platform because, you've got like a $15 million listing in Malibu, and then you have like a $350,000 apartment, but those are still families and still people that live in those homes and are proud of what they've built and what they've designed. And it really made me have like an existential like reality check. And I was like, yeah, that's what it is. It's the level of service that we're giving, not the price point. Because the service should be the same no matter the price point.
Well, Jessica, when I heard you say what you said, it hurt me. Because I thought, here is Jessica, who's an outstanding agent, who does a tremendous volume of business and cares about her clients. And she's apologizing to us because she isn't selling $10 million properties. I was like, that's crazy. No one should ever feel that, ever, least of all at Compass, because our properties are all jewels and they're aspirational to someone somewhere for sure. All of them. I think the key we have to do, especially when we broadcast imagery, any property can look beautiful. Any property can be made to look aspirational. And that to me is the defining moment. So when I go buy a key ring at Tiffany, it's a beautiful key ring. It's $100. It's not the $10 million diamond, but we have to present it as beautifully as Tiffany presents that key ring. And when we do that, then we're honoring and respecting our clientele, not because they are worth $1 billion or because they can just scrape by to buy a $300,000 home. the respect we have to give that property is to make sure that it is showcased Compass quality everywhere. And when we do that, it doesn't matter what the price is. You know, there could be one small room with a beautiful desk and a plant, and that in itself could be just a beautiful aspirational moment that should never be belittled. But I actually hear this quite often actually at Compass, where some agents who do sell lower price points or in areas where there aren't that many very expensive home trades. And by the way, for all the snobs in Manhattan, the number of trades above $3 million, above $5 million is about 7%. It's a small percentage of the market, even in Manhattan. So the one thing I've always preached at Compass as chief evangelist is that we should never become arrogant, because the moment you become arrogant is the moment you actually arrived at some level of stupidity. Arrogance is stupidity.
Yeah.
Arrogance just means you stopped learning. Arrogance means you think you know everything. Arrogance means you feel you're superior. Those are things we don't want in our vocabulary ever. And I think what you are doing is as important as whomever is selling a $50 million property. So bravo to you. I know how difficult it is. I've sold a lot of $250,000 and $300,000 properties. In fact, I've even sold an $89,000 property, and I worked so hard on that one, I cannot even describe it. It was a board package, this high board package for $89,000.
Listen, some of those, I feel like the board packages we do over here sometimes have like led to the deforestation in South America, because these packages are this big. And I'm like, can we just email this in a PDF form? They're like, no. I'm like, all right, not a problem. Okay, I'll make 4,000 copies. Sure. So you know what? We've got to just make sure that we're elevating our level of service and making sure that we are pioneers and peers in the industry, no matter who the realtor is. So I want to ask you a question. Do you ever suffer from writer's block when you're going to send out your emails, or do you have a bunch of topics and you pull from them when they're applicable?
Look, it's difficult to get something good out every day. And I think there are days where it's just not that good. But I have to say, my parents warned me early as a kid. They said, why is it that you always have an opinion on everything? And the bottom line is I do have a lot of opinions and a lot of thoughts running through my little brain that allows me usually not to have writer's block, but I have had writer's block every now and then. And you know what I always think back? I was really bad at writing English in school, and my teacher said, stop trying to create a masterpiece. Just think of a moment or a story that happened in your last 48 hours or a week or 2 weeks and write it as if you were speaking it. That'll forgive you for all the exquisite English others might be able to deliver to the table, which I can't. My English is mediocre at best. And if you speak authentically and honestly to a subject that you understand and relate to, that's real, then it becomes easy. The problem is when you want it to be a masterpiece. And you know, I have another saying that's very annoying. You know, my one saying is, time is the last luxury. But then the other one I have that I repeat again and again and again, 80% is Grady%. I'm never going to get these essays to be 100% perfect and amazing. They're not going to win awards. But you know what? They're pretty much 80% informative and insightful. And oftentimes they tap into a nerve that a lot of agents are feeling at that exact moment in time. Not just agents, it allows the staff and the creators of our technology and our tools to understand the sentiment of what we're experiencing at that moment. And that can be very valuable to a lot of people.
Authenticity is more important than grammar. You know, and then
correct. I do have grammar correct on the computer, which helps. Because if you saw my writing before the spell check and the grammar check, you'd fire me.
You want to know something, Leonard? I'm not going to lie. I can pull off and pull out my $1 million words, but my grammar is like horrible. And I feel like everyone in my team, like they just know it's like excited utterances and fragments that I send them. Like, hey guys, look at this, do it now. Let me know when it's done. Bye. But it's far less conjunctions in the writing. It's like drop a link and it's like do it. Tell me in 10. And they're like, what? What does that mean? I'm like, you'll speak Jessica soon enough.
Well, you know, the bottom line is, if I was writing a book, the quality of writing would be unacceptable. But if I'm writing a memo to share thoughts and ideas and maybe provide some insight and intelligence to the community, then people are very forgiving actually of a little bit of grammar and
Right.
spelling, because then they know it's current, it's authentic, and it's of the moment, and it's not BS. So
Right.
I've often found, even posts on Instagram when they're exquisitely crafted, sometimes people say, yeah, that's nice, but I'd like a more real image. And sometimes the video tours that are ultra, ultra slick get less engagement than the ones that feel not ugly. And because I saw a lot of tours in 2020 that looked like a broker at an open house dead drunk. I mean, I was like, whoa, what's going on? What is that? And how do we sell anything in an aspirational world
Right.
that looks that, deranged? But I do think having something that feels real and human is very relatable. And when something's relatable, it resonates with the consumer.
Okay. So what has been one of your biggest struggles getting into real estate, and how did you overcome that struggle, and what has it done to propel your career forward?
One of my biggest struggles is that I am actually by nature shy, believe it or not. I mean, I don't come across as shy, and I've certainly overcome a tremendous level of shyness, but my natural inclination at a party is to go into a little corner and stay there. I'm not the person to go like, hey, how are you, and greet people. So my ability to go out and generate business through my sparkling personality and gutsy approach is very unreliable. And I have managed to become more outgoing, more friendly, more approachable. And that's constantly a challenge, because there's that blockage in me that doesn't want to do what I call the confrontation of outreach. I'm very good at confronting problems, but I'm not very good at confronting people and saying, hey, how are you? Who are you? Etc. That's not my style. And the vast majority of my personal marketing has been more gift marketing and passive aggressive marketing, where I give information, but I do it regularly. And I do it so regularly that all of a sudden you remember who I am, and then you give me a call. So that's
Right.
because of the dynamic of how I've worked. Whereas other people will go into a scenario. This is going to be annoying, but someone's showing up at my front door to reinstall. This is how real this call is. It's not pre-recorded.
Yes,
They're
I
coming to
love it.
install my curtains in my home because I'm working from home today. Just 1 second, I'm almost there. I have to put a mask on. Okay, please come on in. I'm on a call. These are the people who came to interrupt my call. Welcome. Hi,
Shout
people.
out to their service.
Hi, people who came to interrupt my call. Everyone says hello. Okay, you're all in.
Well, are
And you
they
know where to go. Yeah. Thanks. Okay, I'm back.
okay?
I'm just back with a mask.
That's fine. So what do you do? What's something you do for yourself every day or once a week or once a month that grounds you? Because you've got a lot of things that you've committed to.
So the good thing is my face is covered so you can't see me laughing. But I feel like almost every second week of the last year, I've done a real estate transaction personally. We've done 8 transactions personally in the last 7 months, buying and
Wow.
selling and renting. It's a bit nuts, but I love real
So
estate.
you've done investing yourself.
Exactly. We sold
Wow.
a house that we built. We bought a new one that we're going to build as well. We bought a house to invest in, to renovate. We sold another one that was an investment property to 1031 exchange it. We did another rental. I sold another property. So we do a lot of real estate because, believe it or not, when I go on vacation, I go into a beautiful town in Provence, and guess where my feet lead me sooner or later? A
The vineyards?
brokerage.
Oh, no.
I get to a brokerage office and I'm looking at real estate.
Oh my
It's a bit
goodness.
difficult. So that's something I love. And then, of course, I love gardening. And that's about as much free time as I'm allowed.
Okay. Well, you know what's funny? Because you say that, and every time I love traveling. That's like a passion of mine. Traveling and food. That's, I feel like, my go-tos. So whenever I travel, I end up passing, I'm like, oh, I found a compass, or oh, look at this. And then like, I love finding the little broker owners and like kind of seeing how they do their windows, especially in like small random towns. But like, it's so exciting. I remember when I first joined Compass and we went to California for a NAR conference, and my husband and I were driving up the coast with our children, and we'd made like a whole week of it. So we started in San Diego and ended up in San Francisco. And I was like, oh, Compass, oh, Compass. I was so excited. And, you know, you just start to go on and I use my app, and I'm like, wow, look at all this stuff. And you just, even when you're not supposed to be doing real estate, You're like, how much is this? What's the price per square footage? Oh, I wonder what I could rent this out. It's ingrained. If you are a believer and you're a true committed realtor, you're always looking for, properties and values and what that would look like. We were in Jamaica and we were sitting there. I'm like, could we buy property here? Is there any grants? Does anyone know if there's any restrictions to buying in Jamaica, and what's the rental, and can we Airbnb it? It's just like by nature when you're in real estate and you're really, really in real estate.
If I've always found that whatever I'm doing, if I get into it really deeply and passionately, I not only love what I do so much more, but I do it better, and then it doesn't feel like work anymore.
Right.
It feels like I'm doing just something I love, and I'm like, oh, I'm getting paid to do this too. That's amazing.
So you're on Clubhouse, obviously.
Yes, I got sucked into Clubhouse, by the way.
By who?
Well, I'm not going to say because it would be unfair, but I did get nurtured into.
It shows up on your profile.
I know. But I really, I didn't think I could handle one more thing. And you know what? I have to say, I have to learn how to use it better, because the other day, I think over the weekend, I had my phone in my pocket, and it was like, I must have touched a button or something, said, hey, a notification. And I clicked on it, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, I'm in a thing. And I closed it, and it buzzed again, and I closed it, and I buzzed it again. And they're like, hello, Leonard. And I'm like, oh no.
That's amazing.
And then I got trapped into a conversation that I wasn't truly prepared for. And I think I said a few controversial things that'll probably get me into trouble. But I do love the concept of having these conversations, because I think, especially in the last year where we've been so separated from one another, having the opportunity to just chat and catch up and kvetch is a good idea. But I've also learned a lot of things. And I have to tell you what, we are here today right now for one reason only, right? Clubhouse.
That's right.
So you can't knock it when that happens. The same thing happened to me with Instagram. I remember when Instagram came out, and Amy Mendizable on my team said, we need to be on Instagram. I was like, I'm not a millennial. And she said, let me show you how it's done. I said, well, you do some Instagram and whatever it's called. And then she posted a property of ours in Gramercy Park. And within a day, she had a response from someone saying, hey, tell me about this property. I saw it on Instagram. And it was the daughter of the person who ended up buying it. I was like, you know what? I'm going to sit down and learn Instagram.
Right. And it's, you know what, I think for a lot of people, all this social media stuff, becomes overwhelming, because it's like, oh, I got to keep up. And you got to just figure out where you feel comfortable, because even if you pick one of them, it's better than none of them, because they become your online resume.
Yes.
What are you doing? Who are you? Because people don't use the realtor that is the best always. They use the person they like and they feel comfortable with. So if you're putting yourself out there, I know, like for me, like I'm cute, but I'm not like a stick and able to, like, pull off some of these things that some of these realtors do. But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to look the way I look when they meet me. So what would that be like if I'm like all airbrushed and like tight and everything, and then I come, you know what I mean? So like, you got to be comfortable with who you are, because if you're not, then how are you really even good at sales?
Well, I have to warn you that my photos look a lot better than real life.
So I'm seeing you now in real life, and you're handsome and dapper. This is real life.
Lighting behind there, and I just want to warn you, the real life is, I'm looking at this picture and going like, those are the bags under my eyes, but I have several in the closet too for traveling.
Oh my goodness. Listen, Leonard, I have to tell you, you are somebody that every time I would get those emails, I would read them and I'm like, okay, this is information. Oh, this is good. I can use this in my Insta Live or whatever, in my whatever. And you're just so kind, and your goodness emulates through on so many platforms. Even though I don't know you, I feel like I really do. And I think that you've created a family within an industry that's crossed boundaries and crossed state lines. And, and I really just want to take a moment and say thank you. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
And being so accessible. I mean, you're so kind.
Thanks to you and the people like you, because every one of us doesn't realize it, but every time we are in front of anyone, whether it's in person, on Instagram, in an email, in a phone call, every time, every one of those little touch points are as important public relations moments as $1 million campaign. All these little touch points add up. And I think if we can all keep the likability, professionalism at a very elevated ratio and the consistency of that, we'll all be beneficiaries of it. And our profession will benefit. And more importantly, the consumer benefits. And when the consumer's happy, we have a future.
That's true. It's true. And I think that, like, you know, as long as we are maintaining relevance through giving excellent service, understanding the changes, a house can never sell itself to another house. So there will always be a need for the human touch, even though there's going to be algorithms and apps and things that come down the road that are going to remove a big portion of our community, I think. If that's, you know, that might not be the nice thing to say, but I do think it's true. So you need to commit to maintaining relevance, elevating the standard of your own education so you can educate your clients. And also just, I think something that's really understated is, you know, I think a lot of times we're taught to believe we need to get these numbers and how many people are following us and how many people. And you know what? If you have 100 people following you, then make sure you're reaching out to those 100 people, staying top of mind, sending a DM, because those are going to be warm referral sources, people that know you, people that already like you, people that are already following you. And I think if we spend more time nurturing the relationships we already had, instead of seeking new ones, that's the best way to become more successful in real estate. Because if what's better than saying, I used Leonard, he helped me buy and sell 2 properties, this is the person you use, as opposed to a cold call or something like that. So I think if people started looking inwards more, they'd be more successful and kind of help to really create a community around yourself. I think that's what we need to do.
Also, don't only view yourself in the agent capacity as someone who's doing brokerage alone. Think of yourself as a everything around the home advisor. And in that, you may have people who never buy or sell a home from you ever, but because you've helped them with this and that and this related to the home, they will remember you for real estate, and they will refer you to the people and say, this person cares about real estate, but they also care. And in that, you will probably find even greater value. When I came to New York full time, by the way, I knew virtually no one. I had a very, very small group of people I knew. And I have to tell you what, the people who were the kindest to me and who, you know, helped push me and refer me and introduce me to a whole host of people were people you wouldn't think, you know, the billionaires. Everyone's like, I've got to find a billionaire. You don't have to find a billionaire. People who like you will try and help you, especially if you aren't in it just for yourself. So I've always very, very much believed, give, expect nothing in return. And when something comes, it's a pleasant surprise. And usually people will say, that's someone who doesn't give just expecting something back. That's the best kind of giving, because it's not based on an ulterior motive.
So let me ask you, Leonard, if people are not, if they're not a member of Compass, or if they're just, you know, out there and wanting to learn more about real estate, or they're an agent with another brokerage, are they able to sign up for your daily email?
Sure, if they want to, absolutely. We have at least 10,000 people outside of Compass who are getting the email already.
Okay. So how would they do that?
They just subscribe, ls@compass.com.
ls@compass.com. Okay. So, Leonard, I hear you have like stuff going on in the background. And I just want to say thank you so much for giving me this amount of time. Thank you for being so just kind and like authentic. You're not just the email.
Jessica, thank you to you for taking care of people the way you do, regardless of the price point they're buying at. I'm sure you can sell $10 million as well as $400,000, but if you do it well for both, you're doing this planet a really great service, and you're making all of us at Compass look really good. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And I'm looking forward to being able to be in a room with everyone. Yes, social media advertising dropped ls@compass.com in the comments section. So thank you, everybody. We do actually have a bunch of people that said they're interested in getting to know more about Compass, so we will reach out to you. And Leonard, again, thank you so much for coming on, and I will be sending you a sexy listing in the $300,000 to $400,000 price range soon.
I love it. We love those. Thank you.
All right.
Good to see you.
Thanks, Leonard. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.